We work hard so you can get hard. That's a lot.
Woo! I'm sure that was consensual.
It was fucking Carl! Speaking of, so let's talk about this season and let's just refer to it as trade deadline candidates. As of today, we'll pretend these guys are going to wait till trade deadline, which they don't have to, but for argument's sake, or they're waiting till the trade deadline to get traded. What are your top 5 trade candidates that are not Kyrie or KD, because everyone knows their top 2 anyway, or they might get traded within the next week, they might get traded. They're going to get traded before the deadline. We know it, and we know their top talents. But what other 5 players are top 5 trade candidates for you?
I think Donovan Mitchell is at the very top.
He's number 1 for
right
me.
there. Yeah, number 1 for sure. I mean, people got to be putting together anything to grab him. And it sounds like the Knicks are interested in him, which is interesting. But, I mean, there's always been the connection with him to the Knicks. I feel like that's always been kind of a thing.
His dad works for the Mets. That's a huge thing, too.
Okay.
And they can put together a package. I saw on ESPN, they're like, I would not trade RJ Barrett for Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Donovan Mitchell is miles better than RJ Barrett will ever be, I think. I think RJ Barrett will maybe be a fringe all-star in his career. I think he can certainly help teams. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a very Norman Powell-esque player. But I don't think he's ever going to be on the level of Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell's a top 5 shooting guard in this league.
I just see people down on that potential move because the defense between Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell would be so bad that you would have to have your 3 other guys be excellent at defense to cover up for them.
Yeah, and it's not that either one are bad at defense. It's that they're both like 6'2". Well, Jalen Brunson's 6 foot and Donovan Mitchell's 6'2". They're just so small they can't do much on defense. It's not that they're bad, it's just they're limited on defense. Because Donovan Mitchell was drafted on his defense. Granted, he has to do a lot offensively, but if he got moved there, I don't know. It depends who would be left. Yeah, I guess it would depends who's left on that team for them to where I can make a judgment.
Well, they're not going to have to gut the team for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I think you would just have to trade a bunch of draft picks and RJ Barrett, and that would be enough.
Yeah, I mean, if Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson are still on that team, I do think his defense, his on-ball defense would be a lot better because he does not have to do everything on offense like he does with the Jazz, where he has to carry the entire offense. And I think he can concentrate more on defense because, like, NBA players are human. Like, you can say they're bad at defense, but you can also be like, no, this dude's fucking exhausted. Like, he just did everything on, he plays like 26, he has like 26 to 30 possessions a game with the Jazz, which is pretty insane. And people are like, his efficiency's low at like 42%. I'm like, okay, but for what he's doing, his role is pretty obscene. Like, I don't know how many players have to do as much as he does on offense because he's so heavily doing everything. His second guy is Bogdanovich. But Donovan Mitchell for sure. And I think number 2 trade down is pretty apparent too is John Collins. I think everyone knows he's going to go somewhere, even though people say like the DeJounte Murray trade. I don't think that helps him. I think he still wants to go. I don't think that was the issue with star power. I think it was possessions and space and all this other stuff because they clearly really like DeAndre Hunter. So I think he's going to be the second best trade candidate.
Yeah, I think certainly John Collins is a guy, they've been trying to trade, but at this rate, they already got DeJounte Murray in the building. I don't know if you need to trade Collins unless you just really want to shake things up. I mean, there was that reported trade where they could have got like Harrison Barnes, maybe. Is that even worth doing at this point?
I think for floor spacing wise, we had a comment about how he said, he's like, what are you talking about? He shoots 37% from 3. I'm like, yeah, but he shoots 3 threes a game. That's not floor spacing because he spends no time on the perimeter. I'm like, granted, he's an efficient 3-point shooter, and everyone would want him to shoot more threes. But he's he likes being a face-up, back to the basket type player. That affects your spacing. For the record.
Absolutely. I mean, when he's just not being out there often, he's not, not really creating space, which is the whole point of that word. My second guy I had on my list is Collin Sexton. I've been waiting to see, what happens with him.
I love Collin.
Yeah, I mean, he was hurt last year, obviously, but he's still a guy who's an efficient scorer and provides some energy for you. Maybe he's small like some of these other guys like Jalen Brunson, but I think if you need to get a bucket getter on your team, you're not going to find many guys better.
Yeah, I'd say he's a. Japan's trying to call me right now. I'd say he's a third scoring option on a championship team. I can confidently say that. If he was on, say he had, like, for argument's sake, say he had Bradley Beal and which I know this sounds like an extravagant to say, but like if Bradley Beal was the second option, as Bradley Beal should be a second option, and Kawhi Leonard was your first option, I could see him being a really scary third option. So I think he certainly has value in this league, and he should go someplace like the Mavericks. I'd love to see him on the Mavs. I think that kind of fixes some issues there, where it puts a lot back into Luka's hands, and he can just score.
I can see that. Like, I think like Collin Sexton would work really well there. I think they've been looking for another guard after they lost Jalen Brunson. So
he wasn't even on my list.
Third guy,
he would have been on my list.
I had John Collins.
Okay, John Collins.
He wasn't even on your list.
Just because I forgot him, he should have been on. He would have been on my list.
Yeah,
he would have made it. My third, aside from, it probably would have been Sexton, is D'Angelo Russell. I think he's going to be in this trade candidate mark. I think there's a great possibility he will be a trade candidate, and I think he certainly has value for a lot of teams. He's shown he could not be a first or second option anymore, as we used to think he is. I certainly think he can be a third option. Maybe not on the Wolves, but maybe with a lot of with more playmakers, more heavy playmakers where he can play off ball. I mentioned before the Cavaliers with Darius Garland would be good. But what do you think of what do you think of Russell?
I think certainly he's a trade candidate, but ultimately I don't think he's getting traded because the Wolves are not probably getting a great offer out there, and they're not going to get like something that's worth moving him for. And if I'm the Wolves, I'm not moving him for anything that doesn't bring me back somebody who's better than him, or is like equally as good, or has like a couple of guys with some talent. And I don't know why another team would offer that. To be fair,
it'd be tough for the Wolves because they would need an elite playmaker back, because that's what they're missing.
They would be screwed at point guard if they got rid of him and they weren't bringing back a good one. Because at backup they have Jordan McLaughlin. They traded Pat Beverly even. So yeah, they can't really afford to trade him at this rate. But I think the next guy on my list, I have Buddy Hield.
I forgot about Buddy.
Yeah, I mean, shoots 40% on threes on like 10 a game. This is a guy any team would love to have. He just has a high salary. That's why he hasn't really like ended up on a good team lately. But like once he has a salary that's more reasonable, he's going to be on a contender on his next contract.
Yeah, I think the Mavs would love him because Mavs, they've shown that they just like shooters. They don't give a shit if they can do anything else but shoot. Like Davis Bertans are like, give me him. They're like, we don't care. You can shoot. Come on.
Yeah.
So I think
it would be great. Well. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Definitely.
I think, and then my last one, I feel like I always, have him on the list. I don't love to talk about him, but Miles Turner, he's just fucking always on the trade market. And, is like great player. Just get traded already.
Yeah, I just don't give a shit about talking about him anymore because of that. I'm like, listen, like we've all talked about it. The Pacers, I guess, just won't trade him. Whatever, I've given up. We can always dream about him going to a better place, but whatever.
We can.
He's on my honorable mentions. Yeah. But my fourth was Julius Randle. I think the Knicks are kind of opening up everyone except for Brunson on this trade market, which brings me to my fifth guy too. But I think Julius Randle, he's certainly a great playmaker to have at the 4. I don't think he should play center. I mean, he averaged close to 10 rebounds last season, but and his shooting was down. But I think he can fit a lot of roles. I can see him being a third option on a lot of teams. I do think it's worth it. That I think it would be really interesting to see on the Bucks next to Giannis.
I mean, yeah, I think that would be great. But like, what are the Bucks going to give up? Like they don't have any salary to ship. It would have
to be something where they give up Middleton, but they get a lot back, more than just Randle.
Not worth it. That's not worth it at all.
No, it was just a thought that ran through my head, and I was like, that wouldn't be
And the
bad.
Knicks would love to get Middleton. Holy crap.
Sure
He'd
they
be the
would,
best
yeah.
player on their team.
Yeah, he would. But my fifth guy is Derrick Rose. I do think a lot of teams are going to be going after him. I think he only averaged 12 points but he shot 40% from three. Guy, he actually pretty funny. I mean, he only played 26 games, but he averaged half a block a game, which is pretty funny. But not that's why people are going to get him. But I think he's a great veteran presence everywhere he goes. He's just the most liked guy in the locker room. I would love for the Wolves to get him back. That would be awesome. But certainly lots of teams. But I think the Bulls
It would be great on the
would like to
Wolves.
have
I mean,
him.
they need a backup point guard.
Yeah, they do. And I'd love to see him go back to the Bulls too. I think he would really help out that team, and I think they have some contracts.
Oh, I said the Wolves.
No, I know. The Wolves would work. I'd love the
man.
Wolves, but the Bulls would be really cool too. That's a cool.
Yeah, either
storyline.
one. The Bulls have like 3 backup point guards though, so I don't think that's happening. They just signed Goran Dragic, and they have Alex Caruso and Ayo Dosunmu, and starting they have Lonzo Ball. So like, I don't know what the fuck's going on over there.
Exactly. Well, but that's my 5, and I had a few of my honorable mentions as Eric Gordon, Terrence Ross, Evan Fournier, Miles Turner, and then Harrison Barnes. And I said possibly Anthony Davis, but we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I thought about Anthony Davis too, but I think there's a lot of contingencies on that one. Like, I think he has a great chance to get traded next offseason.
Yeah, if they get, I'm sure that once they get Kyrie, they'll give it a year, and then we'll measure it in a year and see how that goes. But
all right, strictly ball business. We went so hard for you, so you leave a comment on the tube.